Hello, this is John from the Han Informer,
And I'm Glenn from Fall Ritual.
and this is episode 16 of Fall Informer. And today we have a special guest, Slasher Dave.
Yo, what up? How's everyone doing?
Good. How you doing? Thank you so much for joining us
Yeah,
on
for
this
sure.
episode.
This is awesome.
So I was actually just listening to the Jack-O-Lantern murders, and I was really enjoying it. I really liked the sound to it from beginning to end. I liked it, and I really liked the beginning tracks. It really took me back. It really felt like old slasher movie soundtracks that could
Oh yeah.
easily be used for haunted attractions. I would love to hear your music in a haunted attraction.
Yeah, I there was actually one by where are you guys out of?
Philadelphia.
If I can ask. Philadelphia.
Philadelphia. Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay,
Pennsylvania.
cool. So if you don't know, Detroit's used to be at least like 10 or 15 years ago, haunt capital of the world. We had the most haunted attractions per square mile in the world. I don't know if it's like that anymore, but I grew up like doing this shit. And yeah, my voice is in a haunted house here called Wired's Night Terrors. And I play a mine shaft worker in one of them. So I'm just
Oh,
like,
nice.
keep moving, get out. And I'm just like screaming at the customers. I recorded that. And then I did a Evil Dead style, like, get out with your soul now, like just all crazy. And he played my music, I think, a couple nights this year for the crowd outside. So I've always looked at my music as like, yeah, it should be played in a haunted house.
Nice.
Yeah.
Cool.
So talking about your music and stuff, how many bands are you involved in or have been involved in? Because your discogs, it's like crazy. You do the Slasher Dave instrumental stuff. You're in Acid Witch. There's band Horrific, Shivers, the Ratfinks. You've done the Spooky Sounds, which is this, the Ghoul Estate. You got how many bands? Is that pretty much it, or is there more?
That's pretty much it. I've been involved in like a couple projects that maybe did like a song or two, maybe an EP, but nothing ever like came of it. You basically just rifled through almost everything I've done. The Ratfinks, you can't really hear me on any of the recordings because it's kind of like an old teenage punk band. I'm super into like street punk and oi, and that'll kind of always be my first love in music. I think it's punk. So unfortunately, I don't think I'm on any recordings online, but that was like my late 90s, early 2000s punk band, the Ratfinks.
Okay, so what is the where do you get your influence from? Because every project you've done have different influences. I mean, Acid Witch sounds nothing like, your solo Slasher Dave stuff. So what are some of your big influences?
For my Slasher Dave project, I would definitely say Carpenter, the obvious Carpenter. And I don't know, since like COVID lockdown, I kind of told myself that I would go a little more like on the Italian route of soundtracks. So I've really been trying to incorporate some like Fabio Frizzi and I don't know, some of the more like Italian, almost beautiful sounding songs that, shouldn't be beautiful maybe, but somehow they work in a horror movie like perfectly. So I'm kind of nerdy with the soundtrack. So I've really been trying to incorporate a lot of Italian Fabio Frizzi influence in my
Well, you have an album dedicated to him. The Tomb of Horrors is dedicated to Fabio, right?
Yeah. Man, you know everything. That was my first time really trying out the Italian sound on an audio like recording, I think. So I dedicated it to him, but I definitely think Cannibal Death Gods 1 and 2 are like my Italian.
Really into it, yeah.
I like dialed in the sound on those albums like a lot.
Because if you listen to a lot of the Italian scores and stuff, it's very like, almost like melodic. There's like these like beautiful vocals in the background that, like you said, like would not fit with these movies, but it somehow does, and it's just
Yep. So I don't know. I've always loved that about Italian cinema, and not a lot of like, I don't know what you would consider my Slasher Dave music. You can't really put it in the synthwave category because it's not like retro dance music.
Right.
You can't put it in a movie soundtrack because it's not technically, a movie. So I'm forced to like make up genres with my Slasher Dave stuff. I call it horror synth because I really don't know what else to call it. And going back to your question with like Acid Witch and influences, sounding different has always been really important to me musically, and not sounding like other bands or producers and musicians. So going to Acid Witch, you cannot compare Acid Witch to really any band either. It just doesn't sound like anything.
Well, you made up your own genre with that, it seems like, with the Halloween metal
Yeah,
type genre.
that was kind of like that was a funny thing that people actually took seriously, and now people actually call us Halloween metal. It was kind of influenced by Ohio band Nunslaughter. They call themselves devil metal or devil, so I don't know. That was just kind of my twist on it. But as far as Acid Witch, we go back to the classics. Like, I know everyone says it in a fucking doom band or whatever, but Black Sabbath is, I think they'll always be my number one riff influence, because it sounds so heavy and evil and cool.
Right.
But we try to do something different with Acid Witch. Just like now I'm trying to do something with like the Slasher Dave stuff. Doesn't really sound like any other producers out there. Spooky Sounds, your shirt, am I wearing the hat? Yes, I
Yep.
am. That was meant to be like my version of synthwave. So like if you want dancey, heavy, pounding bass music, that's what Spooky Sounds is. That's supposed to be my style of that.
Spooky sounds like a Halloween party at a rave.
Yeah.
Almost, it's like a Halloween rave type party. It's just,
Yep. So that's kind of my idea with Spooky Sounds. I'm pretty sure next year I'll have a full length of music for Spooky Sounds done by then, so people can actually hear the full like potential instead of just an EP, a whole album and of crazy music like that. I already have artwork and a name for it. I just got to get to like busting it out and actually doing it.
You do your own artwork, right? Everything on there is your own.
I do all of it. That Spooky Sounds logo is me, but the artwork I had my buddy Jason do. That's the only like solo project I've done so far that I had someone else do the artwork. I'll always do my Slasher Dave like covers just because I look at it as one giant art project, not just the music. It's like my artwork, it's my music, it's my design, I don't get help from anybody. It's all me. So I think I'll always do that, but I love Jason Outcast's artwork, and he's a huge Halloween nut, just like we are. So I had him do that Ghoul Estate cover and what will be the new one.
Awesome. And when can we expect that out? Sometime
next year, hopefully around Halloween.
Okay.
Nice,
awesome.
Perfect timing. So I actually found out from Glenn, he told me that you actually have worked in the haunt industry multiple times as a manager and an actor. So tell me about your experiences with that and how long you've worked with that.
I wasn't really a manager per se. I was always an actor, but I did help the managers, I guess, like build, design. I acted in it for years. I was a chainsaw guy for like 10 years of my life.
Awesome.
So I don't know. We have this booklet in Detroit called The Fear Finder. I might have one. I do. Oh, shit. I always have one by me. But basically what this is
that's awesome.
Nice.
Yeah, it's a haunt publication. So all the haunted houses in the area will have an ad in here. And when I was a kid, these were free, and I was poor, I was just a poor kid with no money. And I'm talking a kid on my BMX bike, a kid. And Taco Bell sponsored that magazine, which was free. So every September, I would ride my bike to Taco Bell, try to find a Fear Finder and see what new haunts are, opening in Detroit and shit. So it just so happened that I went there. I saw one was a mile away from me. I'm at Taco Bell. I'm on my BMX bike, and there's one like a new one opening like a mile away from where I was at. So I was like, you know what? They're probably building it right now. I'm gonna just like ride over there. I was like, 13 at the time. I knocked on the door. They told me to come in, and I just started talking to these people, and I was like talking about, oh, I've been going to them for years, Mutilation Mansion, which is an Acid Witch song, but that's also the first haunted house I ever went to. And it turns out that it was Mutilation Mansion. Mutilation Mansion was what they call a JC's house. So it was like volunteer work. And then they kind of got sick of their location, the city breathing down their neck, and they opened their own. And that was the one that I went to. That was the new one. And I got a job somehow like right away because they remember me going through Mutilation Mansion, and I would go through Mutilation Mansion, scare the actors. I would know where all of them were. I'd be ducking down, and I would like scare the crap out of them. So they hired me, and I always just had a mind for this shit. I don't know how to explain it. I've been obsessed with Halloween since I've been a kid. So Mutilation Mansion is a big part of that too. And I don't know. I just started working. I worked my way up the ranks, or whatever you want to call them, the next 2 or 3 years until they were listening to my ideas, and I was coming up with room ideas, building my own room, coming up with other people's rooms. Just at a very young teenage age, I was like being super creative in an attraction that would attract tens of thousands of people every year. It was a super cool experience.
Nice.
That's an
And
awesome name for a haunt, by the way. Mutilation Mansion. Like that is the coolest haunt name
that is a good
out
name.
there. Like that's just awesome. And that magazine is unbelievable. Like I know you can go on websites now and they give you a whole list of, but that actually have like, the physical in your hand, flipping through pages
for years.
Yeah,
20 some years. Rest in peace, Fear Finder. COVID shut down last year. There was no print last year. That
stinks.
Yeah,
that's so awesome to have like a actual paper.
I have all of them. I used to like grab 10 books because they were free when I was a kid. So I have quite a large number of them, but it just sucks. They'll probably never be printed again.
That's a shame. But yeah, you can go online, but it's just not the same as, like flipping through. It's like seeing like, concert venues and like what concert venue is coming up and,
Yep. It would turn me into my grandma. I'd be sitting there with a pair of scissors, cutting the coupons out, like going to the haunted house with my coupons.
That'd be awesome if like you found like a bunch of old ones that you still have lying around and made like a photo book of all these ones like through the years that,
Well, I'm
like that ad nauseum book, of all the old.
Yeah, I'm kind of in talks with the guy who did it. So fingers crossed, we'll see if everything goes through, and it's a couple years of work to get a coffee table book done, but
right.
If it's possible, I'm gonna be the one that does a coffee table book, so then everybody can see it. Anybody that wants to buy the book can see it. Yeah,
do that coffee table book and like do like a little like EP to go with it that you can listen to while that would be
yeah, that's an awesome idea.
Yeah, I would love that. That'd be so much fun.
Are you still involved in haunt? Are you aware of haunts around you now? Do you go out to?
I still go to them, and I support as many as I can. We actually had I'm giving away a little secret here. If you guys do this, don't get pissed at me. Haunted houses watching this, we all do it. Sorry, I learned from the best. We used to go to haunted houses for free by just like claiming we were like some blog that was popular. We used to just go to haunted houses and be like, yo, we're from fucking screamseekers.com. We got, this much traffic a day. They're, oh, here's 5 tickets. So we always used to go scamming shit. But I see now that that's, wrong. That was me just being a dumb kid. And now as that I'm an adult and, I have bills I pay and I need fans to support me.
Right.
I see how it is. So, I always pay now and I try to support as many as I possibly can every single year.
Awesome. And there's a big haunt scene out I know there's a bunch out in Michigan and Detroit.
Oh, yeah. In the cities and suburbs, there are a bunch. And then out in the boonies, like you got the hay rides and the trails and all that. Michigan's beautiful. People just think about Detroit and, don't realize that, hey, we have all the cornfields, forests, most lakes, freshwater lakes.
Yeah.
Like it's a beautiful, beautiful place. So there's a lot of cool haunted houses, in the boonies too, not just in the suburbs.
Right.
And you can get away with shit because I'm sure you guys are familiar with fire inspection and all these building codes. They basically make you build a house now instead of just like some extension cords. You need everything like legitimately hooked up now. Wasn't like that when I was a kid.
We talk to owners and it's just crazy what they have to go through with the permits and the inspections and the,
lawsuits.
Each county has its like own different, rules and regulations. But that's awesome. Now, are there ones like throughout the country you would love to go check out? Like,
yeah, I would love to check out every single one.
Nice.
Like I would love to like one day every single one, but there's a couple that I've always wanted to go to the Darkness.
Oh, the Darkness is a lot of fun. I've been there twice.
Yeah, that's one. I forget the name of the guy who owned it, but basically he had a haunted house kit that he was selling. So any haunted house in Michigan that had the word Darkness in it was actually a kit bought from him and put up by his people here in Michigan. And there was Realm of Darkness. I don't think they exist anymore, but that was basically Michigan's version of the Darkness. It was just a kit that an owner would buy and then, just set up in a big warehouse. Kind of crazy. But I've always wanted to go to the Darkness. And as far as Michigan goes, I never was able to go to Silo X. And I wish I could have gone there when I was a kid because I always heard rumors of them having a real helicopter in there that you had to walk through with like dead bodies. Cool. Yeah, like a crash and you had to like walk through it.
That sounds awesome.
Yeah. But I would love to check them all out. I just love haunted houses, even if the actors are poopy and they're not in your face and they're sleeping. I just like, walking through it and looking at it's art. It's technically art.
Yeah. It's someone created that. Someone had a vision and created it. Yeah. No, totally. Are you familiar with Haunted Overload?
Oh yeah. Yep. I've another huge bucket list one.
Yeah.
Yep.
I think that's like on everyone's, but it should be on like everyone's number one bucket list because that place just looks like a movie set, Yep. It just looks unbelievable.
For sure.
Now, how did you get involved with the Witching Season project? You did the intro for the Witching Season. They're like the short stories.
I basically Michael Bailiff, which is head dude over there, I think, just was a fan and out of the blue just asked me if I wanted to try and tackle and see what, I'm always weary about new stuff and new people. I don't want to do anything that I don't like, even if I'm getting paid for it, there's a certain sense of like trueness that you can't pay me this much money, even if you were to throw 10,000 at me to do this thing that I'm not going to enjoy doing. But he sent me the intro and it was totally influenced by the beginning of Halloween 4. Mm-hmm. And I was just like, I gotta do this. I gotta do a good job. So that's how I did that. they did a movie called They Live Inside Us.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
And I did the cutscenes to that too. And I'll be working with them in the future probably too. So
Awesome. Yeah, they do awesome stuff. Which
yeah, yeah.
Their
And
stuff is
going
great.
back to what I actually like, I'm sick and tired of like trauma type of shit, you know, just like kind of goofier indie stuff. It's like give me something like the Witching season where everything is shot and looks like super pro.
Oh yeah, you would never expect those guys were like independent, you
Yeah.
know, small budget type movies. I mean, this stuff is really well done because you can tell when it's like really low budget, really bad. But no, these guys, the Witching season stuff is great.
Yeah. But yeah, it was just like a random message on Facebook. I think I get a lot of weirdo like jobs like that of just random emails or a message. That's how I don't know if you saw the news interview. Local news did an interview with me. Again, just like fans that are just hidden doing normal jobs and me not knowing what they do. I think someone works at Walmart right now that's a fan because Walmart, shout out to Walmart. I ordered the Halloween Boglins that I've wanted since I've been a kid, and they just keep sending me them. I have no idea. Like every couple weeks, I get another box of Halloween Boglins, and I only ordered like one set. I don't know what's going on. If I got like a fan working there, that's just like I'm just gonna keep sending Dave a bunch of Boglins. I don't know.
That's awesome.
Now, I'm curious, do you watch Shudder? Do you watch the Shudder app? Because they have a lot of original titles on there.
I don't. That's something that I'm always behind on, like I'm years behind on everything. I still watch VHS, so that just goes to show you like how behind on everything I am. But it's something that, you know, in the future within the next year or so I'll probably get. I just haven't really had the time to even like focus on like TV shows and movies. I've been so busy with music and, you know, just doing that. But definitely I'd want to get it and, you know, check out Creep Show, I think's on it, right?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
You know, there's been like I've went over a friend's house and I've watched stuff, you know, like that from there. I just need to get it.
But I want to go back to some of your influence, especially when you said you have different influences making different albums. What was your biggest influence making the album Frights? Because that's a little different than most of your work.
There was no real clear influence, but I just wanted to make a really heavy album, a heavy, weird, frightening album that's a little more industrial sounding, a little heavier, and I was on like mushrooms when I wrote it. It's the only piece of music that I've ever like taken mushrooms for just to write, but I wrote that whole album just tripping on mushrooms right here.
Because it is different because it's heavy guitar. There's even some vocals
Yeah.
on it. So it's just completely different from your other stuff. But so there was no real influences other than whatever you were on at the time.
Yeah, there was my idea behind it was, you know, an odd idea. And the original idea behind it was like a commercial that I actually sample on one of the songs, In the Dark It Glows, I think. It was a slime commercial, and it was I'm watching it and I'm tripping, and this kid's like, this slime's like glowing, and I'm like watching it, and it's like kind of trailing and shit, and I'm just like, holy shit. And that was the first song I did for the album, and I was just like, yeah, this album's gonna probably be pretty weird. So I kind of went back and like just started watching old weird mixtape shit, old commercials, and I have a library of samples on an external hard drive that I've just been collecting for like ever since I got a computer, basically. And that album, I was just sample digging. You know, just going through all my little back pocket stuff that I had saved up for years, picking out weird sounds and samples to use. And there was really no idea behind it, but just like, I just want to make like, I don't know if you're familiar with Skywald Comics, but like they had Psycho, Scream, a couple other lines, but basically their stuff was just really out there psychedelic horror comics. And I wanted to do like the musical album version of that, which no one would know. That was like my mind, like thinking like, oh, people will get it. And it ended up like not a lot of people getting it, but people love that album. Like love that album. So that's cool.
Yeah, it's definitely one of those when I remember getting it, I'm like, wow, this is because, knowing your stuff prior to it, I'm like, wow, this is really different. But, again, it was just this complete, all your stuff is just complete from beginning to end. It's always the same, tone. There's never one that's going to be like a song that's just going to be out of nowhere,
Yeah.
It's all,
Yep. Thank
free
you.
flowing.
So I'm curious, when did you actually get into playing the keyboard and actually messing with music? When did you start doing that?
When I moved out of my parents' house, I'd say I did the whole band thing when I was a teenager, and my first instrument's a guitar. That's what I played in the band. That's what I usually write most music on, still. But that keyboard right here was my first keyboard, bought with the paycheck from my first job. Like, and it had a computer built in it, so I could write songs on that without even recording it into the computer. I could just do everything right in the box. And I kind of learned how to do stuff like just from that. And that was the first time I really started screwing with the soundtrack stuff. I dabbled when I was a kid playing the Halloween theme, but once I got that, it almost forced me to be like, all right, you have the means to do it now. You have the tools. So now learn music theory, dumbass. So I had to kind of years and years of in and out learning music theory and how to fool the ears, how to make you uncomfortable, blah, blah, blah. Listen to a lot of movie soundtracks to see what other, producers and composers are doing. And I just learned because before I'm a musician, I'm a fucking fan. So I'll always be a fan first of the genre. And I'm such a fan that I've always just listened to it and examined it. I've always just listened to stuff and been able to get it good. I don't know. It's just like a natural talent. I can listen to something and mimic it really good.
Yeah,
Now, what instrument do you play there? You keyboard, guitar?
I play keyboard, guitar, bass, drums. I do vocals. I've played violin in the past before. Those are basically my main instruments. So
Nice.
Well, I'm curious for one of the last questions here. I'm curious, what was the most fun you had doing a voice, like the most outlandish voice you've done for a soundtrack?
What exactly do you mean?
I mean, like you're putting on like a character, like you're doing like a radio host kind of sound, or you're being a goblin or something like that.
It has to be the witch, in Acid Witch, just the cackle, it's changed. The first witch on Witchtanic Hallucinations, the intro witch, is not me. It's Joseph Vargo. Shout out Joseph Vargo. If you guys aren't familiar with Nox Arcana, he's the one that started Midnight Syndicate, the group, and left and started Nox Arcana. If you're familiar with Midnight Syndicate and you like gothic music like that, you would love Nox Arcana. He actually is a huge influence on me. He does all his own artwork, killer traditional painter, and it's in the vein of Midnight Syndicate. And throughout the years, he had the witch voice on Witchtanic, and then I kind of started screwing with it. And throughout the years, it's kind of evolved into this little whisper type of thing, almost Crypt Keeper. And that it's still fun. When I mic check, when I'm playing live and going on tour with Acid Witch, the mic check is always getting a cackle. Always. Just to see if it sounds good. A really loud one too. So I still have fun
Nice.
doing that.
Awesome.
No, I think we got to close with, we got to talk about A Very Lo-Fi Christmas too, since that is your newest release. You just put that out.
And next week I got one dropping too. I don't know if you've seen too.
No, I didn't see that.
Yeah, over on my Instagram, it's called Christmas Spirits, and that is more like exorcisms, and it's
Nice.
not hip hop beats. It's ghost music. It's the most frightening music I've ever put out ever.
That sounds really good.
Yeah,
Wow.
which is funny because it's Christmas. But
Yeah.
going back to lo-fi, last year it was basically my first year I started producing a bunch of hip hop. It's a huge, it's always been a huge love of mine to just screw around with it. But now that I actually have good rappers on my beats and I'm getting paid good money to do so, it's kind of changed my life. So last year I put out Lo-Fi 1 as just like a Jay Dilla, chill, cool Christmas music.
It's
That's not the
very-
typical.
And this Lo-Fi with the whole Kmart logo across the top, it is very 80s hip hop Kmart feel to it. It's kind of like a Root Boy Slim, Christmas at Kmart type song.
Yeah. On Lo-Fi 1 is what I did last year. I had the Kmart sticker and it was
Mhm.
dedicated to Christmas, or it was dedicated to Kmart. Rest in peace. But me and Kmart have a long history, especially during Halloween time. They had dope Halloween shit when I was a kid. What can I say? Pumpkin Time. Pumpkin Time was the company, the Kmart company. It was called Pumpkin Time. But anyway, last year I did the Kmart logo. This year I'm like, I'm going to take it to the extreme. I'm going to put a huge Kmart thing on it. I'm going to put a Kmart commercial as the intro for the beginning of it. And the beats aren't going to be as lo-fi and slow as last year's. They're going to be more 90s and boom bappy, like kind of a faster tempo. My idea with that is just I know so many people that love listening to beats, but don't want to listen to the same old boring Christmas music that we've all heard since we've been kids. I want to put out something that sounds like Christmassy, but that everyone can enjoy, that are just like-minded people into alternative shit. You know what I mean? And if that's my excuse for making Dilla type beats with nostalgic Christmas samples, hey, it is what it is. People seem to love it.
It's good. Is that ever going to get a physical release, 1 and 2? Or is
Next year we'll do a 12-inch vinyl, 1 on one side, 2 on the other side.
Awesome. That is awesome, because that would be definitely an awesome, nice,
Oh yeah, for sure.
that artwork just screams it needs to be a physical, release.
As with typical Bellyache Records, the label I'm on, and Slasher Dave fashion, I have ideas for packaging that harkens back to Kmart, and the packaging of it next year is going to be really, really cool.
Don't come with a little blue light special.
That'd be dope. That's an awesome idea right there. But no, my ideas, again, all my shit, I'm just going back to my childhood, digging into what molded me and as to who I am now, digging into it deep and ripping it out and somehow materializing it. That's what I see as my true talent now, is going back to shit that influenced me when I was a kid. All this Halloween stuff, Acid Witch, I've had that name since I was 15. It's all stuff that goes back to me when I was young, and I go back and I find it, I exhume it out of its grave, and I materialize it somehow.
Nice.
That's awesome.
I saw some merch on your Instagram and it looked like a lot of fun. You have lots of great artwork.
Oh, thank you. Yeah, I got some dope hats, album you were talking about, some snapbacks.
You
I got
did a whole like neighborhood watch thing.
Oh
Nice.
yeah, the neighborhood watch kit. I had a lanyard with a safety whistle that was also
Oh,
a
nice.
solar powered
That's so cool.
flashlight. Yeah. Just like crazy merch like that. You actually needed to get that to enter into the contest I had this year and win a bunch of crazy stuff. I'm going to try and do more contests every Halloween for people that want to participate in shit. But yeah, just again, going back to like, you know, wanting to be different. What
Yeah.
band or musician have you ever seen put out a lanyard with a solar powered flashlight whistle on it?
No, no.
Nobody.
No.
Like, I just want to do shit that, you know, nobody does and that us like-minded people can all enjoy.
Awesome. So ending on a high note there with all this awesome merch, definitely check it out. I'll have it all linked in the description below. And definitely check out Slasher Dave and all of his different endeavors with music. And I have been John from the Haunt Informer.
I'm from Fall Ritual.
And this has been episode 16 of Fall Informer. And until next time, happy hauntings.